Welcome to the Wellness in a Chaotic World podcast. I'm your host, Cheryl Davis. Before we dive in, I wanted to note that as a health and wellness coach, I can support you in making sustainable lifestyle changes, tuning into your own wisdom, and building habits that align with your values and vision for your well being. I don't prescribe or treat health conditions, as I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional. Instead, I can walk alongside you as you create a healthier life on your terms. From time to time, I share conversations with guests. The views and opinions expressed by those guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect my views or those of anyone associated with wellness in a chaotic world. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and isn't a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always talk to your doctor or qualified mental health provider about any physical or mental health concerns. This is the Wellness in a Chaotic World podcast, a place where we're having conversations about what it really takes to live well in our unhealthy, chaotic world. I'm your host, Cheryl Davis. If you're beating yourself up over a bag of chips you ate in a stressed out frenzy, or you can't figure out how anyone manages to find the time to even think about wellness, you're in the right place. We talk about all of these things and more because, frankly, we don't talk to each other enough about what we're really up against every day. Let's change that right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new year. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday and are feeling refreshed and motivated to make this year a great one. Of course, if you're not feeling the new year energy, that's okay too. The timing of the new calendar year doesn't always align with when we're ready to set new goals or make new plans. New Year's resolutions and the like can feel arbitrary, but this collective resetting of the calendar does give us at least one yearly reminder to reflect, reset, and align with what we want our stories to be going forward. Personally, it's been decades since I've made a New Year's resolution. I almost never have the energy for it in the middle of winter. But a practice I have picked up is choosing a theme for the year. I take a few days to reflect on how things went the prior year, and then I write about how I would like to feel and what I would like to focus on in the coming year. Last year, my focus word was streamlining. It covered a lot of different areas of my life, from things I needed to physically remove from our house to ending projects and other things that were eating up my time, energy, and money with little to no reward or return. This year, my theme is still streamlining, because sometimes it takes more than a year to learn what's needed. If I was to adjust the theme slightly, it would be something like just say no, because streamlining, I'm learning, isn't just about purging things that you no longer want or need. It's about saying no to the things that don't serve you before they fill up and take over your life and home. For the rest of my non-resolution New Year system, I write a short list of measurable benchmarks that may or may not have anything to do with the theme, such as back room cleared out and usable, contribute X amount of dollars to my retirement fund, read 12 books, etc. I then create a space for each of the 12 months where I bullet point out major events that are coming up, and I put a box where I can come back, reflect, write about what happened, and write down any shifts that need to be made throughout the year. Regularly coming back to it without hyper-focusing on it, I think is why it works better for me than a resolution. There's enough flexibility in it to not set me up for feeling like a failure because I can make measurable progress on whatever the theme is, but I can also adjust when needed, and it makes room for all of the life that happens in between and all around our big goals. Well, anyway, that's what works for me. Do you have a practice for the new year that's not about making resolutions? Let's talk about it on Facebook, Instagram, or through email. So for the rest of today's episode, I want to share with you the conversation I recently had with my friend Shannon Danielle. She's a movie theater manager and an intuitive mindset coach. We met through a podcasting program, and we are members of a group of women supporting each other through all of the little things that need to be learned and overcome to put a podcast out into the world. Shannon just launched her podcast called Pure Possibilities a couple of days ago. And I wanted to highlight the work she's been doing because her focus on having a healthy mindset, creating happiness from within, and facing fears are really critical pieces for intentionally crafting a life you love. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Shannon. Hi, Shannon. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. You describe yourself on your website as an intuitive emotions, mindset, and energy practitioner. You also say that you're an energy healer and health coach. So how
I've
did
got all
you,
the things.
yeah, how did you get to that point where you are now a coach?
It started I started with becoming a health coach about just over 4 years ago. I had, I hadn't been, I hadn't been feeling good in my body. And I ran into a friend and she was like, "Hey, do you want to try this thing?" And so I started a program and immediately decided to be a coach because I was like, this is amazing. And at that point, I felt like I only needed to lose like 25 pounds. And now I'm 50 pounds down from where I was. So sometimes our reality check isn't quite, like you don't really know. Um, and I don't know, I felt like this was something I wanted to do. And then I started helping people gain control of their health and I fell in love with it. And I guess that's kind of one of the things that I do is I just follow what seems like the next right step. So I started coaching in September of 2019 and I lost like 25 pounds in the first 6 months, or not even 6 months, few months. And then I decided that I wanted to I've never liked to exercise. And so then I started I decided I was going to do 10,000 steps a day. And so I started that in February. And one of the things with my health coaching is I'm an independent certified coach for a company. And one of the things they talk about is, getting on social media and really being out there. And so one of the things they talked about wanting me to do is like do videos. Scared me to death. Absolutely scared me to death. So one day I was out walking and it was when it was, COVID happened in March. I was out walking and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. I need to share this. And so I pulled out my phone and I started recording. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I posted it. And the response that I received was like amazing. The the impact that I had no idea I could have on people's lives other than through my coaching. I was like, this is amazing. And so I started doing my videos. And then that led me to I did that for a while. And then I ended up starting to not feel like I was feeling really good and I was helping people and it was incredible. And we were all getting through COVID. And I did some, uh, I did some videos or I started doing movement challenges. That's what happened. I was doing the walking and then I did the movement challenges and pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I, with those videos, I then did these challenges and forced myself to do live videos every week to make myself uncomfortable, to get out of that fear. And then for a while, it was great and I was feeling really good. And then I started feeling like I wasn't being true to myself and really authentic. And that led me down the path of wanting to figure out how to raise my energy, which brought me into the life coaching. I found Mandy Morris, and she had a 3-day Raise Your Vibration program that I was like, that's exactly what I need. And I decided to sign up for the life coaching certification program so that I decided two things. I was like, either A, it'll just help me, or B, I'll become a life coach and be able to help other people. And so when I went through that program, it was crazy to realize like all of this stuff that weighs us down that we don't realize. And so I did like this. It was so funny. I did the 3-day Raise Your Vibration and I was like, this is great. I'm going to raise my energy. And I spent 3 days crying. Like I was in tears, like having this massive release. And then when I started doing the life coaching certification program, I was required to do 20 practice sessions with people. And so I had friends and family, I said, hey, I need to do this. Will you help? And so then they had to like fill out a survey afterwards. And then when I got the feedback, I was like, oh my gosh, like I knew that I wanted to start an actual business. I mean, I was doing my health coaching, but I'm working kind of for another company. And so I did when I was holding myself back because I was like, I need to name my business. I can't do anything until I name my business. And then when I read all of the responses and the impact that I had on their lives, I was like, I can't not do this. And in the meantime, I had signed up for an energy healing course. And so it all just kind of flowed together. And it's really just kind of overall well being, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to ask you like what one of your biggest challenges was. Is that getting out of your comfort zone?
Yes. But I've like fallen in love with getting out of my comfort zone because every single time I do it, I'm proud of myself. And I usually realize that whatever that big scary thing was that I was going to do or that I was afraid to do, it isn't as bad as I thought it was. And so I'm constantly doing things that either it's really funny actually, because I'm either making myself uncomfortable or doing things that make me feel good. So it's really funny because I really do focus on like finding things that feel good. But that being said, I do things that make myself uncomfortable all the time. But I guess I feel good because I've done that thing that I was scared to do. And then you learn things about yourself when you make yourself uncomfortable and step out of your fear and you find the courage that you didn't realize you ever had. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. When you said that you thought you had to lose 25 pounds, but then, suddenly you're losing much more weight, there's got to be connection energetically, right, to our physical body and what we're holding on to. Don't you think?
oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think once you start, I guess, properly fueling your body and feeling good within your body. And even I definitely attribute like starting with the weight loss and feeling more confident within myself to freeing my mind and kind of helping to open up like how I'm viewing things, how I'm viewing myself, how I mean, I guess that's another thing is like I used to spend a lot of like I used to look outside of myself for validation. And now like I'm finding my own happiness within myself because I'm proud of the things that I'm doing. I'm getting to know myself and who I really am at my core because I've made myself more important than everybody else going on around me. Not that they're not important, they're obviously important, but how I feel is important. And as I'm continuing to show up for myself and take care of myself, it absolutely has an impact on all of the relationships in my life.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that one. So are there things that you rely on to keep yourself in the right mindset?
Yes, absolutely. So several years ago, I started setting alarms on my phone. I had connected with an energy practitioner who she uses what if questions. Her name is Marie Manucherry. And she uses what if questions to like, what if it's going to be an amazing day? What if everything in, what if I allow everything in the universe to surprise and delight me? And so I started using those and I would program alarms on my phone to go off throughout the day. And I would just kind of like, I don't know, it's like creating a pause in your day. And so I started that. And then when I started on my health journey, I eat 6 times a day. I eat small meals 6 times a day. And so then I took those questions and put them on my alarm with like fun emojis. So when the alarm goes off, like my first alarm of the day is good morning, beautiful, have an amazing day. And it just, those are things that help me create happiness within myself. I look at it and it makes me smile, or it allows me the opportunity to just like check in with myself throughout the day. So that's something I do every single day. And that keeps me, I don't know, aware and present in as to what's going on around me. Just keeps me in the moment.
Yeah, that's interesting with the questions, the what if. It's almost like they're the opposite of what's happening inside your head. Like if you have anxiety, especially,
Mhm.
you're asking yourself, well, what if this happens? And you're going to the worst case scenario. So instead, it's like a deliberate practice of saying, okay, well, what if the very best things could happen?
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's not attaching yourself to the outcome or the answer. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, huh, what if that were to happen? That would be amazing.
Oh yeah,
What if
that's
I
huge.
fell madly in love with my what if I fell madly in love with myself? What if she just has so many and then I've come up with several of my own, and it's just kind of fun. I end my day with what is one amazing thing that happened today. That's my 9:30 p.m. alarm. And it allows me the opportunity to, kind of reflect for a moment, just for a moment. They're also really good. Doing the alarms are really good because if you do have chaos happening in your day, it can interrupt it and get you to kind of circle back and just again get present in the moment. And sometimes we start to kind of spiral in our day depending on what's happening around us. And so it gives you that opportunity to stop and pause and get yourself out of that spiral, so then maybe you can go back and look at whatever the situation is a little more clearly.
Yeah, so that's like happening right as you're living your daily life. Do you ever go the extra
Yeah.
mile and write those things down in a journal, or do you just use them as like those pause moments?
I generally use them as pause moments. I've tried to become a journaler. I just, I go through like spurts where I intentionally journal. Um, I definitely find gratitude in every day, but I don't always write it down. I meditate every day, but I can't seem to get the journaling thing down.
I think it's what, finding what really works for you. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because
so
like what's going to work for me or what's going to work for you isn't necessarily going to work for other people. But I love offering the ideas to people of, hey, this works for me. This helps me feel good. And I proactively, I do yoga, and I had kind of stopped for a while, and I was like, why did I stop doing that? It makes me feel really good. Why would I not do that? And so I actually started it back up, because we all make excuses. We have things going on. I'm too busy for this. I'm too busy for that. But why would we be too busy for things that make us feel good?
I think sometimes we put ourselves last, and we forget to do those things that really
Yeah.
energize us and make us feel good.
That's one thing I would love to change is like the perspective on self care, because, people are always like, self care is selfish. And I don't know, Lisa Nichols, I came across an Instagram thing of hers one day, and she said, you need to overflow your cup. Overflow your cup. Don't just fill your cup, overflow your cup, so that when you are giving to other people, you're not depleting and emptying your cup. It's still so full, it's overflowing, that when you're giving to others, that it's not, it's not empty in the end.
Yeah.
And we really do show up better for everybody in our lives when we feel good and we're taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so as an energy healer, what are some of the things that you do for your clients?
It's more of we do chakra clearings, and we'll set an intention. It's done remotely, generally speaking. I'm also a Reiki certified Reiki master. I did that right before COVID, and I haven't actually practiced, but energy work is exciting and interesting to me because energy is so important, like what you put out and into the world, and how you're showing up, it impacts everything. So I go through and do clear all of the chakras, and again, it's just like a remote energy healing, and it's crazy how you can energetically connect to people and clear those blocks that they have in the energy centers.
And even over the internet too. Like you can, as long as you're
Yeah,
connecting with a
yeah.
person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay,
mean, which
so
just goes to show you how important energy is,
mhm,
right? Because
right.
if you can connect, you know, from a distance and through the internet.
So you have mentioned triggers that lower our vibration. What are some of those things for most people, or you, or me?
I think a lot of times other people's behavior can be a trigger, or I don't know, beliefs we have about ourselves. I think that when people feel out of control, that can be a trigger in our lives. Um, and then we start to feel out of control. And with all the things going on outside of us, that I think that that's a pretty impactful thing for most people and a huge trigger when you feel out of control. If somebody's reacting or responding to something that you do or that you say, that can go into the whole people pleasing thing. When we are pleasing others just to make them happy because we feel like we're not important enough, then we get upset with ourselves for doing that. I mean, there's just so many. I could go on and on about all kinds of things when we don't set boundaries for ourselves. We get
Right?
upset because we agree to do something that we don't really want to do, but it doesn't even feel good within us. It's like the holidays are coming up and you're being pulled in 50 million different directions and you're feeling like you have to say yes to everybody. But what if you just take a deep breath and, listen, like ask yourself, is this something I really want to do? And how does it feel in my body? And then you make that decision, like maybe I'm going to say no to that because it doesn't feel good and I don't want to do it.
Yeah. For some of us, that is so hard. It's just so ingrained
Yeah.
from a young age that don't upset, Uncle Joe.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And, I think triggers that happen, a lot of them do go back to our childhood. Somebody says something and you don't even necessarily realize that it's coming from something from way back, like I don't know. I guess it kind of also that comfort zone thing that we talk about. I always felt like I was quiet and shy and that what I had to say didn't matter. But in my family, my mom was very, very outspoken and I didn't feel like I could speak up. And so I would sit back and cower back, and not cower is probably a little dramatic, but like I would, go into a Zoom meeting or whatever, and I would just sit there and not say anything. I would keep my camera off. I wouldn't participate because I didn't feel like anybody cared what I had to say, because I never really felt like my mom cared what I had to say, and so those are those are even triggers, like I didn't realize that that was a thing. And so now I have this awareness of, working through that. And now I'm again pushing myself because that's not actually true. Sometimes beliefs we have, just because we've had that belief for so long, that doesn't make it true
Yeah,
just
right.
because we've believed it.
Right. The
Yeah.
stories that we tell ourselves about what happened to us or what is going on when someone is challenging you, or yeah, we really have to think about whether or not that story is true. And usually it's not, right?
Yeah. And, that's asking yourself that question, like, is this actually true? Is this something, you had asked me when one of my favorite books, and Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Um, and because that's kind of about really being present and like looking at a situation and it's like, is this really true? Am I making up a story in my head about what's actually going on, or can I just look at what the actual facts are? And if we could all stop making up stories in our head, we would be a lot happier.
Yes, we would. So let me guess. Are you an introvert?
I am. I I am. I definitely am. And let's see. When I'm around people that I feel really comfortable around, I'm totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm at my work, in that environment, because I also have a full-time job. Like this is, yeah. So I have another job. Um, so when I'm there, I'm the boss. And so I'm super, I'm in charge. I'm really confident. And so people that know me in that environment, they're like, you're not quiet. You're not shy. You're not. And I'm like, well, yeah, you should see me when I'm at a barbecue and I don't know anybody, I'm the one standing in the corner, not talking to anybody. I will be, I would get into like breakout rooms and on Zoom calls, and I would literally like leave. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to strangers. I don't want to talk to people I don't know. And I think that's just getting in my head about what people think about me.
Yeah, that's totally relatable.
Yeah. And I've kind of come to realize that it really just doesn't matter. And usually people aren't really judging us as much as we assume that they are.
Right, because we're all thinking about our own issues.
Yeah. And then they're thinking about what you're thinking about them, you know?
So tell me more about your upcoming podcast.
I'm so excited. We're going to talk about limiting beliefs and comfort zones and um, really how important our energy is. Like I had somebody come into my work. Actually, this is kind of a sad story. I had somebody that used to come into my work on a regular basis, and her husband called me a couple of weeks ago, and he said, hi Shannon. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are you? And I said his name, and he's like, I just was calling to let you know that she passed away, but she wanted, like the day before, he said, she wanted me to let you know how important you were to her. Like I literally only knew this woman who came into my place of business, and we would have fun, engaging conversations all the time. And it was so impactful for her that literally as she was passing, like her last few days of life, she made a point to tell her husband that she wanted him to contact me and reach out to me and let me know how important that was to her. I just cried, but like it meant so much to me, but it was so like, that's where the energy that we bring to people and how we show up and how we interact and how we connect with people is so important. I was just like, and sometimes you have no idea. Like he didn't have to choose to call me to tell me that. Obviously, he was wanting to honor her, but sometimes we don't know. We don't know the impact that we can have on people's lives just by being kind, just by being engaging and loving, and that just happened a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I know that the path that I'm on and what I'm doing and how I feel and how I'm showing up for myself and for other people, like this is absolutely what I'm meant to be doing, and it feels good, and to know that you can have an impact like that on people's lives is huge. And so it was just kind of another, it just reaffirms my podcast and my coaching and all of the things that I'm doing, that it's absolutely what I'm meant to be doing. And it makes me really excited that having my podcast launch, that I'm going to be able to have that opportunity to impact more people's lives in a really positive way.
That is really exciting. I mean, that's really what it's all about, right?
Yeah. And it's fun. It's fun doing the podcast and learning. Oh my gosh, so many things to learn and work through and get uncomfortable with. Like I didn't know how to mix a music with a trailer, with my trailer and all of the, so that part's been fun too. And it's like you push yourself and you're like, oh, I can do all of these things that I never would have thought that I could do. And it's pretty cool.
Let me ask you a question. So you have, for people, obviously they can't see this, they're hearing this over a podcast, but you have purple highlights and purple is your color. Explain the purple.
It's funny. The purple has just kind of happened. At my work, we used to not be allowed to color our hair, and I couldn't, my nose is pierced too. And during COVID, I decided, because my employment was shut down for 15 months, first I decided to get my nose pierced because I was like, this is something I've always wanted to do. And I've never had the opportunity to do it. And I thought, when we reopen, I'll just be able to wear a mask. So that's fine. that'll be fun. And so then I was like, it would be kind of fun to put some color in my hair. And so my stylist has been doing my hair for 20 years. And so she put like a little bit of color in the ends because she know, she's like, you don't want to push your, you don't necessarily want to push yourself. Like, let's just try this and see how it goes. And then I fell in love with it. And now we've come up with a certain look that I absolutely love. And purple is a healing, intuitive color, and it brightens people's days. Like, I get compliments every single day on my hair. And, I'm not doing it for the compliment by any means, but it's fun and I love it. And it has brought out a side of me that I didn't realize I was there. Yeah, so it's fun. And yeah, I'm in a purple shirt today too. I've fallen in love with the color purple.
Well, it looks amazing.
Thank you.
So, if people were to go online, where would they find you?
They would find me at purepossibilities.net. And then my trailer is currently up on all of the platforms for my podcast.
Awesome. Thank you for talking with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
One of the things I think Shannon does best is encourage people to push through their own perceived limitations and to rethink what they believe about themselves. She leads by example, pushing herself to step out of her comfort zone. On some level, I think we all kind of recognize that stepping out of our comfort zone is really what leads to personal growth and self discovery. But it's a hard thing to do. It's called a comfort zone for a reason. So, my question for you today is, what are you doing to step out of your comfort zone, to push through and change the stories that you have about yourself and about the world around you? Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. You can also find more about each episode on the website at wellnessinachaoticworld.com. Or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, where we can chat more about living well in this stressed out, chaotic world. And as always, I hope you have a healthy, happy week. If today's episode resonated with you, our private Facebook group is a great place to dive deeper, ask questions, and share wins with people who understand. It's free, it's private, and you can join by clicking the link in the episode description. I hope to see you there.